Hello and welcome to Rise of the Gay Cinephiles, the show where we, two gay cinephiles, talk shit about all the latest things we've been watching and other hot topics. We're back for episode 2.
Yeah, have you missed us? It's been 2 weeks, which is rather unusual for us, isn't it?
It is. It's what to get used to. But we didn't forget. We're back. I'm sure you're all sad that we're not weekly anymore, but we're back fortnightly. And of course, as always, with this show, we'll be starting in a little place that we like to call Housewives and Drag Queens Corner. And a spoiler warning is in place for what we're going to discuss. Which actually isn't a lot.
No.
It isn't a lot, because Beverly Hills, we're sad to tell you, and this is no excuse, it's not because we don't want to watch it, Hey You just won't work whenever we try and watch that show.
It's very strange. Every time we've gone to watch any of Beverly Hills, it's stuttered.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's protecting us from something. I've seen clips online and it doesn't seem too bad. But yeah, we've had a really unfortunate time. But we watched the final part of the Salt Lake City reunion.
We did.
And that worked perfectly fine for us. So who knows what the fuck's going on there? But yeah, Hey You, get it sorted.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else is having these problems.
We're gonna have no content after this week for this section if you don't hurry up and get it sorted.
What's coming up? What's coming back? Is it Atlanta?
Yeah.
Atlanta is coming back, and I think that's it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Salt Lake City.
City, season 5, top tier housewifery, whatever the term is. Really, just a perfect season.
It is. We got to highlight the evil Jared Osmond and his blatant misogyny in part 3 of the reunion.
We certainly did.
And Brittany just further proving that she's terrible at being on the show, but in the most entertaining way possible. And Bronwyn constantly putting her in a place. And then of course Meredith's call from Jen Shah. I mean, those are my highlights from the reunion.
Yeah, Brittany is unhinged, should I say? But in a not like a violent kind of way.
No. But
just that there's something going on behind the surface.
There is.
That I feel is strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how to say it nicely, but I feel like she's rightfully been judged because she openly said, "Oh yeah, totally. I totally chose a man over my kids," and then on like 10 minutes later, she's like, "Well, you know, I've had struggles with my kids.
Yeah,
you know, don't mention that."
I mean, her problem is, to sum it up for you in the nicest way possible, is she is desperate to get one of those Salt Lake City snowflakes.
She is.
In the intro, but she's trying so hard to the point that it's just disastrous.
It's hilarious, though. It really, truly is hilarious.
Yeah.
So entertaining. Her TikToks are, I think I mentioned it last time, strange.
Yeah.
She keeps belting out songs in public.
Well, it's mostly Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan.
Yeah. I feel this is very to go slightly off topic, but still on topic with Brittany. What's happened in society where behaviours are allowed in public because they're being filmed? It's like, this is okay. This isn't unhinged because I'm recording it for the world to see. You know, this isn't unusual. No, I surely I can't be getting in your way because I'm recording. This is for my content. What is happening here? Because if I stood outside my home right now and started belting Pink Pony Club at the top of my voice, people would think, he's a bit of a wrong 'un, he is.
Let me just interject there and let our listeners know that we live over the road from Canal Street, so no one would say that Chris is a wrong 'un. They would celebrate it and probably join in.
But you know exactly what I mean. if I started belting stuff out, they'd be like, that's strange. Or I started dancing in the middle of the road, that would be strange. But if Gary was filming me for it, apparently that's normal. You know, if I threw an egg at someone, they'd think, what's he up to?
Hey, we're content creators. We just don't do it in public.
Yeah, but I'm not interrupting anyone for this.
It's true.
I'm having a millennial rant right now.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm just surprised that you chose to do it in Housewives and Drag Queen's Corner.
But this is what Britney's doing. Britney is doing very strange things in public, and apparently it's fine because she's recording herself. Yeah. Like, it's content. It's like, oh, that's not strange behaviour. I feel... I'm sure there's a psychology
I do
there.
Completely agree with you.
I'm sure there's a sociology student who could message me and tell me what this means. But I just find it strange.
Yeah.
Strange. I find Britney to be very strange.
Yeah.
I also find that as the season went on, Bronwyn confused me. Because I really like Bronwyn, but I found that she lied a lot, but then had this forced truthful moment. Like, I'm gonna lie about this, or I'm not. I'm talking about her husband cheating on her, but not really cheating on her. But she had a big moment on the boat where she brought to everyone's attention her husband's infidelity, and it was either he's spoken to her off camera or she overdid it, because by the end of the reunion she downplayed it massively. Yeah. And it wasn't anything compared to how she made out on the boat. So I find it weird that she has those moments, and then suddenly she'll have moments of being very honest to people about something that she said behind their backs. So she'll turn around and sort of say, oh, wow, we were having a conversation about you, Lisa, and we being, Whitney, Angie K and herself, and Angie K said this, and Whitney said this. So she's being honest on other people's behalf. So it's very messy, which I love. Messy. But also, I mean, that's not how you're be a housewife. No. You're meant to be bitchy behind people's backs and then bring it up at the reunion. When you've had a really catty thing to say on the what they called when they talk to camera.
The confessionals.
Yes.
Personally, I like Bronwyn.
Yeah.
And I would love to see her return.
Oh, definitely. Do not change the cast.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's perfect the way. But including Britney, like, bring her back.
As a friend of.
Yeah.
I think she still needs to be a friend of.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the biggest gag, though, like, Meredith talking to Jen Shah on the phone. What the fuck is that all about?
I think, this, I'm assuming I won't get sued or anything, who knows. But I think that potentially Jen Shah could have something on Meredith.
Potentially.
Which is why Meredith has sort of always defended Jen Shah. I do believe it was the same for Heather Gay as well. I think Jen Shah had something on them that they didn't want out. I don't think criminal activity, but potentially Jen Shah, knew about all the men in New York City that Lisa Barlow was talking about, or something like that. She's got something stashed away on them, and that's why they're sort of trying to keep Jen Shah on board. I find Meredith, I guess I keep using the word, but strange. She's an enigma because she's a massive hypocrite when it comes. She had a huge list of things that she'd been called by people, but there's a huge list of things that she's also called people. Yeah. She has alluded to Angie K's husband having an affair and then denied it, made herself the victim in everything. And she's always, I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't have done this. If you hadn't have trod on my toe, I wouldn't have stabbed you, you know, in the back. It's one of those. And again, it's top tier housewife material. Do not change Meredith. But I find it frustrating sometimes. I don't think I could be friends with or around someone like Meredith.
Yeah.
Because she has such a victim mentality. You can't say anything or do anything or hold her to account because she's always the victim in every situation. Mm-hmm. And like Lisa Barlow, who you can never hold to account because she's deny, and then start shouting.
Yeah.
Which I also love, you know.
Uh-huh. Well, thankfully, it was a conclusion to one of the best shows on TV.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait for another, 6 months or so, however long it takes for it to come back.
I think they'll get them filming quickly.
Yeah.
And get it, season 6 ASAP,
Yeah.
I feel. Because by all accounts, New York has been a flop.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what's going to happen with that?
Yeah.
What I've seen from Atlanta is potentially entertaining, but something, I don't know if you're aware, but something really dark happens.
No.
Kenya Moore's not part of it.
Oh.
I don't know if we're going to see what happens, but essentially a new housewife comes on board. Kenya Moore, at some sort of party or something, puts on a sexual home video or a photo of the new housewife and puts it out there for everyone to see at this party, which is incredibly dark.
Yeah.
Like, really. The weird thing is, with Salt Lake City, you've had Heather Gay punched in the face.
Uh-huh.
You've had Jen Shah stealing from the elderly. Stealing and going to prison for it. You've had what was her name? Was it Jenny? And and her online memes and her sort of far right sort of social media posts. You've had all that. You've had Mary Cosby, the insinuation that she's stealing from people as well. But it feels like the lightest of all of them.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
Because it still makes me laugh out loud. Mm-hmm. Like every single episode. It's hilarious. But some really dark thing. Obviously Mary with her son is very serious and it was treated as such. And quite rightfully so. But overall, Salt Lake City is a comedy.
Yeah.
Because it makes me giggle.
Yeah.
It really, really makes me laugh. Even though there's some very serious things that happen.
I tell you what fails to do that, and that's Drag Race recently.
Ooh.
I mean, I can't even remember much about last week. Was last week the Seasickening Ball?
Yes.
With the Lexi Love Sabotage?
Yes, the sabotage.
That was amusing. Funnier than the entirety of Snatch Game this week. Again, spoiler alerts are in place, but that was just fucking awful. It's the worst one since the one where there was only one good performance. I can't remember what season it was, but I can't believe a drag queen did David Lynch and was so reserved with it. Was just so quiet about it and didn't go all out.
But David Lynch's thing is, I mean, if you're going to do David Lynch for Snatch Game, you're going to do his character from Twin Peaks. Yeah. You're going to shout. You're going to shout everything. I mean, he kind of does.
That's how he talks.
Did it in real life. That's how he talks. Yeah. It's very loud. But it was given nothing. Yeah. It was given nothing at all. And it was going down. Do you remember when Cartier did Bjork?
Yes.
I think it was trying to be that, where it's so absurd, that it's funny, but it didn't have the same charm to it. David Lynch wasn't like that. Was she safe?
She was safe.
It was so.
I'm sure she was safe. Yeah,
it was. It wasn't even bottom 3.
Yeah.
It was highly disappointing. I kind of like her energy, and I like the fact that a drag queen on Drag Race would do David Lynch. Like, I
Yeah.
like that. I mean, the fact that you know who David Lynch is gives you a thumb up in my book. But, and who was it? Please remind me. I'm so terrible with these names. Lydia B. Collins.
Yeah.
So Lydia Butthole Collins. Which is a funny name in itself. I mean, that's, subversive. It's... And that's her comedy. But she's kind of fucked up a Golden Girls character. She fucked up Sophia.
Yeah.
And she's fucked up David Lynch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a way to offend us.
Yeah. I mean, Anya Nerve was a deserved winner.
Oh, yeah. I'm
For
really
Eddie
liking
Murphy.
Anya Nerve. And
Eddie
I
Murphy
loved her
performance.
outfit as well.
The Miss Bigfoot was funny.
Yeah, surprisingly. Jules Sparkles.
But in regards to who won, it didn't really matter because everyone else was fucking shit.
It was, yeah. I found Arietti as the baby Cupid awful. Like, really cringe, terrible. Corey King as Big Ange. I love Big Ange. And I feel like maybe the performance got cut down somewhat because I think she only spoke like twice.
Yeah.
She gets more confessionals than anyone else.
Oh, it's true.
She gets more confessionals than anyone else, but on the
Yeah.
Snatch Game got cut down. But I love Big Ange, and I feel like that was going to be safe no matter what. Lana Jarre. No, she was in the bottom two, wasn't she?
Was she?
Yes, Lana Jarre. Who was it?
Honestly, it shows how memorable it was.
This is terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to sum it up, like I said, deserved winner. and
Yeah.
Whoever won, whatever, it doesn't matter because it could have been anyone.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, Trisha
Susie
Paytas,
Toot let us
like,
down.
Susie Toot definitely let us down before she did amazing, and that's delusional.
That was weird.
That's really delusional. And I love Susie Toot, but that was yeah. I mean, there's really not a lot to say about Drag Race for the last 2 weeks. It's just been really lackluster for me. It's kind of like, I mean, the last season, the last UK season we had was one of the best, like the best UK season since season 2. But then with this one, the American one, it's just gone back to the same old shit, and it's just a bit repetitive. And
I think my problem is, and I've said it before, the queens this year, they're too young, and I just think it's, and I'm not judging anyone for not knowing who David Lynch is, and the queen who did David Lynch was young, but there are lots of reference points that I don't think that they get.
no,
And essentially Drag Race is a millennial show.
yeah,
It started, I mean, I was watching it in 2009. RuPaul, Michelle, they have a very old-fashioned sense of humour. And I think some of it goes over the queens' heads. And so I think you need... What we've got is a hell of a lot of look queens who do some fantastic looks.
Yeah.
And I think what's been lacking in the performances has been made up for in the runways. I think there's been some fantastic runways. The Monopoly episode,
yeah,
I think, considering they made them themselves, some real phenomenal outfits, which is great, but you can't have that across the board.
no.
And I thought Lexi Love was going to be a queen that could perform. She is slightly older than the others, but I thought she was a queen that would know those references. I mean, she was Gilbert Gottfried, for God's sake.
Slightly older than the others. She's around our age, and they treat her like she's a fucking... she's been mummified. Like, what's going on? Like, what is with all the jokes about her age when she's literally...
She is 3 years younger than
yeah.
me. She's younger than me.
Yeah.
And the age jokes, I did not appreciate. But yeah, it's not landing for me this season, unfortunately.
But hopefully there'll be a better season to come, because there's always the new one ready to be released.
I mean, it's episode 8 next week. It's the Rusical. It's the Wicked Wiz of Oz. I mean, come on. You can't mess that up.
Wow.
So, I mean, I love everything Wizard of Oz. Do I? Oh, about that random Italian film.
The Little Wizard. We do not
Little
talk
Wizards of
about
Oz.
The Little Wizards of Oz. Moving on. Moving away from the Housewives and Drag Queens corner and going over to the shelf for some shelf love. The section where we talk about the brand new physical media releases. We haven't brought any new releases or had any sent to us over the last 2 weeks, but there has been some great releases put out there by BFI, who've released 7 Samurai in 4K. If any film has needed a 4K release for a while now, it is absolutely 7 Samurai.
Yes.
Arrow have put out A Certain Killer and A Killer's Key on Blu-ray, which is something that we do intend to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Weird Science on 4K, and Criterion have put out Punch Drunk Love in 4K and Winchester 73 in 4K.
Nice. I think we have bought a new one.
Have we? What have we brought?
When did Rouge come out?
I don't think it was within the last 2 weeks,
Was it
but
not?
we do have Rouge.
Yes.
From
Yes.
88 Films.
Yes, we did partake in the 88 Films. Oh, 20th of January it came out.
There we go. Bit earlier.
Well, we can still talk about it. Yes, so we did partake in the recent 88 Films sale, didn't we?
We did.
So that will hopefully be with us. That delivery will be with us soon.
Yes.
But what's... we haven't watched any.
Depending on post office.
Don't. Sore subject. The postal service, not our friend, generally speaking, is it?
No.
But yeah, really excited to watch those. We might... I'm assuming they might pop up next time when we discuss some of our favourite watches.
But with that being said, again, we didn't buy apart from Rouge, there wasn't any bought. So, moving on from Shelf Love, let's get to the highlights, because that's what you're all here for, I think.
Well, I don't know. No one's...
You're all here for our lovely voices, our lovely Coventarian voices.
Coventarian.
With probably a slight tinge of Northern because we've been here so long now. And here to tell you about our first highlight is me. And I'm going to tell you all about Variety from 1983. Written and directed by Betty Gordon. Co-written by Kathy Aker, Jerry Dalamata, Peter Coper and Nancy Riley. Starring Sandy McLeod, Will Patton, Richard M. Davidson and Louis Guzman. And it's about a woman who becomes obsessed with pornography and the mysterious rich patron of the Times Square porn theatre called Variety, where she works selling tickets. This awakens her sexuality, which confuses her boyfriend. So, Variety on Mubi.
Yes.
As part of their You Up Midnight Classics section. And it's a film that I don't think a lot of people have seen. It's very obscure, but it's a film that more people deserve to see. And I wish Betty Gordon made more films, because this is a really fascinating time capsule to 80s New York. And it's that type of 80s New York that is New York Ripper, Jason Takes Manhattan, just like down, dirty, sleazy New York where it looks dangerous to go outside.
Pre-Giuliani New York, I think. Rudy Giuliani famously tried to clean up the streets of New York. But I feel like it was much better. Like, I mean, obviously I've never been to New York, and I certainly wasn't there in the 80s, but it looks far more interesting.
Yes, it definitely does.
It's a little scary, which I feel like is the point.
The film follows Christine, who is a fascinating, multi-layered character who... She's just so well written and so compelling to watch. Sandy McLeod is really fucking good in this performance. Her obsession turns into a almost like neo-noir setting for the film, with her almost doing detective work on her new favourite subject, this man who goes to this cinema. But it's also about her sexual awakening, and it's a really bold and honest look at female desire and sexuality, and the ignorance towards it from the male gaze who only want to sexualize women and look at them as objects in their own specific way whilst dismissing their pleasure and what they want, but within the setting, obviously, of these porn theatres, which were everywhere back then, according to films. London was pretty much the same, apparently.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's kind of ironic that they would go there to watch these films, but there's specifically a scene where Christine is talking to a guy who's playing pinball, and she's going for it. She's talking dirty, like, graphically. She talks like an erotic novelist. You know, she's really well-spoken with her dirty talk, and he's just ignoring her. But he would, you know, go to this porn theatre and watch women being sexualized on screen for his pleasure. But when it's her, because she enjoys it and she enjoys talking dirty like that and putting herself out there and embracing her sexuality, men are uncomfortable with it. Men are not interested. I mean, her boyfriend in the film, he's disgusted that she starts working there. You know, it's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think it says a hell of a lot about men's sexuality. About, you know, it's from a female perspective. Christine, I feel, is a fascinating character. Really multi-layered. She doesn't make all the choices that we want her to. It becomes quite a tense thriller at times as well. But she feels very real. And she's sort of discovered a part of herself that she wasn't really sure was ever there. And then she doesn't know how to handle that part of herself. And also the people around her don't know how to handle that part.
They don't.
I think it says a lot about women as commodities.
Yeah.
Particularly women's sexuality as a commodity. It's being sold. We see, you know, many posters for pornographic and non-pornographic films. Shout out to Helen Mirren in Hussey.
Yeah,
that was
Disguised as a pornographic film.
Hussey's not a porno.
Certainly not.
But, I mean, it's always nice to see Helen Mirren on the big screen. But, yeah, I feel it's a real fascinating film. And it's one of those films, and I say it, and it's true, that could only be written and directed by a woman.
Yeah.
Like, it's important that this kind of film is, you know, created from a female perspective, because I think it says a hell of a lot about female sexuality, but even more so about men and about how women feel in the male space, you know, a male predominant space. And Christine kind of, she needed the job and she was there. She gets attention and she kind of likes it.
Yeah.
And it's not judging her for liking it. It's not, we're not meant to be repulsed and disgusted by this. You know, it can be healthy in the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I got from it. I don't think it judges the adult film industry fully. I think it says that it is kind of weird, you know, but I don't think it completely judges it, because in the right way, it can be beneficial to men and women.
Yeah, but I think it's why it's important that it also has scenes where we have the other female characters talking about the way they've been treated by men.
Yes,
within
absolutely.
The porn cinema, within sex shops, as sex workers, and it feels very ahead of its time with those honest conversations. You know, it gets the message across, but in a way that also feels natural and never really feels forced. It's just really well written, well directed, and it's shot in such a grimy way. I love the cinematography so much. It's so grubby and gritty, the way it needs to be for a story like this.
Yeah.
And especially when it's accompanied by John Lurie's jazz heavy score.
Yeah, love that. Love that score.
It falls somewhere between erotic thriller and film noir with that music. Really, really fantastic stuff.
It's the kind of film I would love to see get the Criterion treatment.
Yes.
I think it's one that I think really deserves it, and I'm assuming that hopefully sometime soon it will, because it's one of those films I feel needs that, and it'll help get the word out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because I think it's a real fantastic film that everyone should watch.
It is. And on to highlight number 2. What have you got?
Yes, another film that I think everybody should watch. It's Akira Kurosawa's Dreams from 1990. Written and directed by Akira Kurosawa himself, and also director of Godzilla, Ishiro Honda. Uncredited. I mean, it is called Akira Kurosawa's Dreams.
Yes.
So, it's starring Akira Tereo, Mitsuko Beisho, Toshi Negishi, and many more. Miko Harada as the Snow Fairy, for me, was quite a standout. But a very, very wide cast, including, as well, Martin Scorsese playing Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah.
Do you say Gok?
I used to say goth, but I'm now educated and say go.
Vincent van Gogh. But I think it's Vincent van Gogh.
Is it?
I think the Dutch say Gok.
Well, when we
go
to Amsterdam,
we'll
find
know.
out.
But yes, it's essentially a collection of tales based upon 8 of director Akira Kurosawa's recurring dreams. So it's a different cast for each of the 8 short stories. Yeah, so it's an anthology. So a very wide, varied cast with some familiar names, obviously. So I won't go in depth on all of them, but the names of these dreams, and I'll call them dreams because I think that we should, is Sunshine Through the Rain, The Blizzard, The Peach Orchard, The Tunnel, Crows, Mount Fuji in Red, The Weeping Demon, and Village of the Watermills. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, are you going to rank them? No.
Well, I mean, for me, I think...
you're going to rank?
I'm not going to rank them. I'm not going to rank them, but I would say Crows is the most beautiful looking. I would say The Weeping Demon and Mount Fuji in Red are the most harrowing. Village of Watermills kind of brings everything together in one. Like every little bits from each of these segments all come together in that short. It's a great conclusion. I think The Tunnel is my favourite.
Okay, yeah.
Also incredibly harrowing and really thought-provoking, dealing with death and, just anti-war segment handled brilliantly. The Blizzard's probably my least favourite, but that's saying a lot because I also loved The Blizzard. I really loved the inclusion of the Yuki Onna for some really fantastic imagery. And Sunshine Through the Rain, Peach Orchard, both really just get to it. They just get to it, and it tells you everything you need to know about this film. The dreamlike dialogue and the beautiful visuals. And for me, Kurosawa's best film.
Okay, that's potentially controversial, but I agree that it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Akira Kurosawa.
It is.
Mean, on any given day, any of his films. I mean, it's 5-star, beautiful, absolutely stunning. Like, really, this is the mark of a true master filmmaker. To bring such visuals onto the screen. Yeah. To be able to take your dreams and be able to create anything from them is
especially on this
genius.
Scale.
Especially on this scale. But also, the dreams themselves, yes, they are at times quite surreal, but a few of them really go in on the environment. You know, the threats to the environment. Mount Fuji in Red is essentially about a nuclear meltdown.
Yeah, it's a film about childhood, guilt, spirituality, nature, death. But what I love about that is the fact that this is a film that is literally just showing you Kurosawa's dreams. They are his dreams, but he still somehow found a way to tie these themes in such a way that actually feels natural and flows really well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. Obviously, I don't think it's shot for shot what he remembers from his dreams.
No, but
he's obviously filtered it.
Yeah.
Through his own genius to like if we all just did directly from our dreams, that would be rather strange. I will not go into great depths.
No, let's not.
But obviously it's filtered through his genius and made into something that really, I mean, it's stunning, and the content itself, of course, and it does say a lot, and it is entertaining. But for me, what will always stick with me is those stunning visuals. Just really something extraordinary. Just in terms of cinematic history, it's up there as and I say this. For me, Japanese cinema does it the best.
He's a visionary, specifically Kurosawa. I mean, and everyone wanted to be Kurosawa. I mean, look at Star Wars. You know, it's Seven Samurai. It's The Hidden Fortress. So many films out there have copied what Kurosawa does, but no one. It kind of like I said last week about David Lynch, 2 weeks ago about David Lynch. There's just that certain thing there that you can't replicate, and I think it is all in the visuals when it comes to Kurosawa. Like, no one can recreate what he did here.
Yeah, and this is very late on in his work. You know, this is one of his last films, and I feel it is in many ways his kind of, I don't want to say love letter or just a letter to the world to say, you know, these are the dreams that I've had, and please, you know, look after this planet. Mm-hmm. I really feel that is the main theme. You know, look how beautiful it can be. Look what we've. I won't start singing the Earth song, but I mean it's but better, but good. And yeah, you were saying that, you know, he influenced everyone. It's the political nature and the criticism of nuclear power and the way that the environment's been affected by mankind meant that financing was difficult for him, despite being one of the most well-renowned directors of all time. So he needed help from Steven Spielberg and Warner Brothers to get it made, and thank God as well, because it's a film that I could watch every year, you know, and just sit down, and it's not that it is quite relaxing actually, because it's so beautiful. Yeah, it is. But also it has something to say.
It does. And do you know what? I'm so glad everyone listened to him and that we managed to tackle climate change in such a fantastic way. And the planet's on track. Thanks, Kurosawa. You did it. Surely people didn't watch it and ignore him and let the planet go to shit. Surely not.
So what Gary's trying to say is recycle.
Yes. What else have we been watching?
We've been watching a fair bit, haven't we?
We have. We watched Kamikaze Hearts, which kind of goes hand in hand with Variety in the camp of film made by a woman about the sex industry that really should be seen by more people.
Yeah, Kamikaze Hearts, it blurs the line between fiction and documentary in a really interesting way. Yeah. It's very sex positive.
It is.
But not always sex industry positive. Yeah. And a fascinating watch.
We watched Saturday Night, which we won't be discussing on our Oscars episode because it got snubbed.
Do you think it got snubbed?
Absolutely. Did not see that coming at all.
Where would you have put it?
I personally wouldn't have put it anywhere, but I think it was calling out for best screenplay, maybe even best picture, Best Picture, because of what it is, And because of how it's made, it just screams, give me Oscars. But you know what? Again, even though I wouldn't personally nominate it myself, I had a great time with it.
It's Oscar bait that they didn't take.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the filmmaking part of it. I really enjoyed the performances. We've said it time and time again on Horror Cult Trash Over, and I'll say it now for our new listeners. The Saturday Night Live style of humour, it doesn't translate over here. It doesn't... I don't find it funny. But I found...
You'd say it doesn't translate over here. Lots of people over here find it funny.
You think?
I know people that find it hilarious. Yeah.
Well, who was it? James
Kaufman.
Belushi.
Yeah.
I think I was about to talk about his brother. James Belushi in a bee suit saying Wolverine.
Yeah.
Badger.
People find it funny. I'm in heterosexual media. People find it funny.
Actually, yeah.
But I had fun.
Maybe it's not for us then.
I had fun.
Yes.
I love to see the Sacred Fig, but I'm not going to tell you any more about that because we're going to be talking about it soon. And the biggest highlight that's not in our highlight is Big Boys Season 3. Yet another season of just hilarity, emotional moments, and so much relatability.
Just a really beautiful final episode. It almost got me in the feels. Well, it got me in the feels, but you know what I mean.
They almost found that heart.
Almost cried because it was just incredibly funny, beautifully made. Series. I highly recommend. Very British. The references are incredibly British, but I think there's something for everyone.
I think there is. I mean, personally, I think it's the funniest show on TV. I think it's peak British humour.
A very queer sensibility as well. It's very much our sort of... If you like this podcast and you like some of the references we come out with, then you definitely love Big Boys. And you've probably already watched it. Yeah, let's be honest.
And for our Let's Discuss section, in a very special Let's Discuss section, as we're just off Valentine's Day, let's discuss Bridget Jones.
Yes, so I would like to talk about Bridget Jones as a whole. Do we call?
Excuse me.
Do we call it the BJCU, the Bridget Jones Cinematic Universe?
I'm still not over Bridget Jones as a whole, personally, but
the series as a whole, WHOLE.
Thank you. Needed that. Yes. So. Obviously,
I'm sorry. I will not allow you to ignore the fact that I just
BJCU,
said the BJCU.
Thank you very much.
Let's not do this.
We're
Thank you very much.
I mean, we're currently upset with the MCU, so
yeah. But the BJCU, the Bridget Jones Cinematic Universe, I don't think it's come to an end. I think we'll probably get another film. Two.
allegedly, that's the final one.
Really?
Yeah. We did watch Bridget Jones Mad About the Boy. We also watched Bridget Jones's Baby. I rewatched Bridget Jones's Baby. But talking about the character in general, it's such... obviously, I think any gay guy, any woman around our age can tell you how relatable she is. I've watched the first film each decade of my life now. I first watched it when I was like 11.
Oh.
When I probably shouldn't have been watching it. And I watched it again in my 20s, and I watched it again in my 30s, and each time I watch it, it just becomes more relatable, and I appreciate it more every single time. It's so comforting, so funny. She's a silly bitch, but aren't we all?
Yes. I mean, let's talk about the two elephants in the room.
Let's get into that. Yeah.
So, Bridget Jones, fantastic film, the best of the four.
Bridget Jones's Diary.
Bridget Jones's Diary, yes. Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason, meh. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was the early 2000s. Some of the humour was incredibly offensive.
Yeah.
I felt like she was a complete different character. Which brings us then to Bridget Jones's Baby, 12 years later, where she feels like a completely different character. Like,
Yeah.
nowhere near the Bridget Jones we had in the first film. Very weird premise as well. I didn't really get why they did that. Did you? I didn't really understand. And then obviously Mad About the Boy, which was, I'm very pleased to say, incredible. Like a really fantastic, compared to the other two, film. It's still what I like to call Special K cinema, where it's very much how do I describe it? Like a middle class woman kind of cinema.
Facebook Mum of Two. Glass of Prosecco.
Yes. Prosecco o'clock cinema.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm mad I am kind of cinema, which does work at time. At least there was no Ed Sheeran in this one.
Yeah, I mean that's that's definitely one of my biggest bugbears of the third film is the fact we have an Ed Sheeran jump scare, but not just an Ed Sheeran jump scare. He's there for like fucking 10 minutes. Far too much Ed Sheeran. 2 Ed Sheeran songs. Stop it. Just Glyn jump scare. Yeah. What are you doing?
But the reason why I loved the first film so much is that she felt very real.
Yeah.
She smoked like a chimney. She drank. She was very much a fuck up in many ways, but she was lovable in it.
Yeah.
And it felt like she was trying hard, but it just wasn't quite right. Mm-hmm. Whereas I found in the 2 sequels, she was just, I mean, a fool, like an idiot. She didn't really feel grounded in any way, in any sort of realism, and I feel like we got that back in Mad About the Boy.
Yes.
She felt real again.
Yeah.
She felt like the struggles she was having wasn't because she's, an idiot. Mm-hmm. It's because she was trying to deal with life.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that, and if that's it, then okay.
Yeah, it's a good end. It's a good end. For it. And you could literally just watch Bridget Jones's Diary and Mad About the Boy as a double bill, and you wouldn't be missing anything at all.
Very true. Very true.
But I mean, obviously the rest of the cast do a great job as well.
What's your rank list
of the films?
Yeah. The BJCU.
So it's Bridget Jones's Diary at number 1. Then it's Mad About the Boy.
Yeah.
Then The Edge of Reason, and then Bridget Jones's Baby.
Yes, I completely agree.
I really liked Bridget Jones's Baby when I first watched it. I have absolutely no time for that film now. I don't know what I was thinking. But I mean, yeah, and of course, Renee Zellweger is iconic in the role. Yeah. She always has been, even in the shit sequels. She's always committed, and she made that character what she is.
I love that face she pulls in Mad About the Boy. It's hard to describe, but I think people would know it. That face. I love
that
Renee.
face on her face.
Yeah. You know what I mean. We all know
what you mean.
That sort of smile, but that kind of awkward smile that she does. Yeah. I love a bit of Renee.
Shall we talk about highlight number 3?
Yes.
We're on to the new releases now.
Yeah, we're on to the new releases for 2025, and I don't feel 2 millennial horror fans could go this Valentine's season without talking about Heart Eyes.
Of course. Obviously, a disclaimer, we do not support Spyglass for what they did to Melissa Barrera. We are simply supporting queer filmmakers. Queer writers.
Yes. Thank you. So yes, Heart Eyes, directed by Josh Ruben. Yeah. And who was it written by? I'm struggling to remember.
Christopher Landon.
Oh, of course. Christopher Landon, Philip Murphy, and Michael Kennedy. Starring Olivia Holt.
Yep.
Horror Man of the Hour, Mason
Yeah.
Gooding.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to see. I find him very likable. Glad to see he's getting lots of work. Jordana Brewster.
Yes.
Devon Sawa.
Yep.
Gigi Zimbardo.
Uh-huh.
Ben Black. Chris Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Latham Gaines. And many others, obviously.
Yeah.
So essentially, the tagline is "No couple is safe."
Yes.
And it's about when the Heart Eyes killer strikes Seattle, a pair of co-workers pulling overtime on Valentine's Day are mistaken for a couple by the elusive couple-hunting killer. Now they must spend the most romantic night of the year running for their lives.
Yes.
Real simple slasher film fodder.
Mm-hmm.
Set at Valentine's Day. But what I loved about Heart Eyes is that it isn't yet another parody of slasher films.
Mm-hmm.
It is not another parody of horror.
No.
It's actually, in many ways, a parody of romantic comedies.
Yeah.
But with a horror genre, with the theme of a serial killer.
Yeah. This is a rom-com.
This
is a rom-com, but happens to be a slasher film as well.
Yeah. I loved it. I loved the kills. It's a very bloody film. I thought Olivia Holt and Mason Gooding had wonderful chemistry together. I found the characters incredibly likable. I cared about them throughout. I cared about them in this situation. I thought the design of the killer was fantastic. I loved the Valentine setting. It was just a real fun slasher film.
Yeah.
It was hilariously funny at times. Is it breaking completely new ground? Absolutely not. It is a slasher film. It hits a lot of the slasher film tropes, but does it in such a wonderful way. Really enjoyed it. If you like the kind of films that we like, especially if you listen to us for Horror Cult Trash Over, we went through so many slasher films.
Yeah.
This is right up our street.
It is.
How do I say it? Like
You're
Cheryl,
right up my street.
Right up my street. This is a film that felt like it was made for us.
Yeah. I mean, as someone whose favourite subgenre is slasher, someone reinventing the wheel isn't going to happen anytime soon. And, it hasn't really happened since Scream. But, this gives it a really good go. And Christopher Landon and Michael Kennedy, when they get together, they are just masters at camp horror comedies, specifically slashers. They know exactly what to do. Of course, they did Freaky together. Michael Kennedy did It's a Wonderful Knife. Christopher Landon did Happy Death Day. Happy Death Day to You. They know what it is, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see people who have clearly been horror fans all their lives and are making the films that we would reference if we made horror films right now.
Absolutely.
But also, parodying Hallmark films and cheesy romantic comedies. It's really. It's not fresh, but it's fresh. It is fresh.
Yes.
But it's not. It's not breaking boundaries, but it doesn't need to. It's just fun.
No.
Just watch a fun slasher film with bloody kills, with fantastic practical effects, really great humour and great performances. I mean, what more could you ask for? And I really like the killer as well. I like the design. I like the scream of it all with, the reveal and such. And we get a great soundtrack as well with David Gray randomly being included in there.
Yes. That was quite a shock. But totally makes sense.
Yeah.
With the humour of the film, it totally makes sense. It is, in my opinion, first and foremost a comedy.
It is.
And second, a horror film.
Yeah.
Which works, because we don't usually get it that way round. Romantic comedy, should I say, excuse me.
Yeah.
We don't usually get it that way round. So, really, really had such a fun time with Heart Eyes. And it didn't feel forced to make itself 2 hours long.
No,
So
thankfully.
nice 97 minutes, like any slasher film should be.
Yes. And whilst it's not a slasher film, we could definitely say the same about the runtime for highlight number 4. Our final highlight of the episode, a film that's actually not been released in the UK until the end of the month. It's The Last Showgirl, directed by Coppola, written by Kate Gersten, starring Pamela Anderson, Jamie Lee Curtis, Brenda Song, Billy Lord, and it's about a seasoned showgirl who must plan for her future when her show abruptly closes after a 30-year run. Obviously, when this was first announced, Pamela Anderson, Jamie Lee Curtis in a Gia Coppola film, I was so excited for it, and it's been one of my most anticipated films for so long now, to the point that if it was anything less than 5 stars for me, then I'd have been disappointed. But it didn't disappoint. It fully lived up to the hype that I set for it, and the hype that other people have said. I mean, you know, mixed reception, but there's been a lot of positive thoughts out there, and rightfully so, because this is just beautiful. It's actually beautiful. It's a beautiful film about, you know, flawed yet utterly compelling and lovable characters, and saying it's okay to be flawed, you know, with the system you've been brought up in and the things you face. It's okay to be that person. And Pamela Anderson, you know, with a character like Shelley, who is holding on to her old-fashioned show style and intending on keeping it going for as long as she can, whilst the times change and the people change and the people in charge reject this dated style. Given the trajectory of Pamela Anderson's career, it makes sense. It feels like it was written for her, and you can see that within this performance that was massively snubbed at the Oscars. Like, unreal that this was snubbed.
I think it occupies the same space that The Substance does.
Yeah.
And particularly Demi Moore in The Substance.
Uh-huh.
I think Pamela Anderson missed out at the... And trust and believe, you know, I think there's enough room for both.
Mm-hmm.
I would have nominated both because I think it's a beautiful performance by Pamela Anderson. In particular, everyone involved fantastic, but Pamela Anderson really gives a really great performance.
Yeah.
But I think because it occupies the same space as Demi Moore's role in The Substance, I think that's why she missed out.
Yeah.
Because it is about a woman aging out of how society perceives her.
Yeah.
And her career, and not being prepared for that. I think, you know, we watched it during the same period as Variety, and I think it hits a lot of the same sort of themes as well about women as a commodity, women's sexuality as a commodity. Yes, she's a Las Vegas showgirl. She's a topless Las Vegas showgirl.
Yeah.
You know, how is she being perceived in this? And I find the character of Shelley to be fascinating, because she doesn't necessarily see things how the other characters see things, and doesn't see things how we see things.
Yeah.
And that's what makes her feel real. It's a film that I think is trying very hard to be real, despite having very familiar faces, and I think it succeeds. I felt a connection to these characters. I thought as well, Jamie Lee Curtis, phenomenal, of course. Hilariously funny at times too, as Jamie Lee Curtis usually is in film. She's a fantastic comedian. But I thought Dave Bautista was really good. Yeah. Really, really good in this film. I loved it. I thought it looked wonderful. And I think, again, it had something to say, and something that resonates with me and resonates with what I find interesting in film and in society. Highly recommend The Last Showgirl.
Yeah. I think Annette, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, is just as interesting as Shelley as well. I think she gets just about the right amount of screen time in this film, but Her character is so interesting. Her history is so interesting to the point I'd have liked to have seen an entire film about her.
Yeah.
But we also get, Brenda Song, Kernan Shipka as well. And it's all these different characters within the same industry from different points in time, which it works within the film because this film could have been released at any point in time. And it's also ambiguous as to when it's set because it could be made any point in time and the message is still valid.
Yeah.
The message and the themes are still valid because that is the world we live in, unfortunately. And yeah, it delivers it so well. Again, made by women, and it could only be made by women because it's a female story and it's got so much heart and sincerity in there. It's honestly just incredible, absolutely incredible. Jamie Lee Curtis's dance scene to Total Eclipse of the Heart is one of the cuntiest things I've ever seen. We get an amazing Pat Benatar needle drop, and that Miley Cyrus song as well. The fact that wasn't nominated for an Oscar is just criminal. It's absolute criminal.
Especially when you see who else was nominated.
Well, yeah, no,
category.
exactly. All those fucking songs from Amelia Perez. Are you serious? And we didn't get Beautiful that way. Jesus.
Would you put Jamie Lee Curtis's hairstyle in The Last Showgirl top 5 Jamie Lee hairstyles?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Or it's good with red hair?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And
maybe one episode we need to rank Jamie Lee's hair.
Potentially. I mean, the fake tan complements the hair in this.
What would you, off the top of your head, what do you think would be a contender for number 1?
The wig in Halloween 2. Obviously.
I think post makeover in Freaky Friday.
Yes. Yeah.
Or like the real slicked down hair in True Lies.
Yes.
That's quite a high
Christmas
line.
with the Cranks Ratty wig.
Oh no. Do not mention that.
But before we move on from this though, we mentioned earlier in Variety the gritty New York from the 80s. This gives you the gritty, sad Las Vegas.
This is
just rare. You
sad.
don't often get that in films. But it's the darker side of Las Vegas. Sad, quiet, but shot in such a dreamlike way, which is so fucking unique. And yeah, just when this is released, go and see this film.
Yeah, if you share, because it has had mixed reviews. I'm looking at my Letterboxd and there's some ups and downs and such. But and I say it, and I will continue to say it, if you share similar tastes to us, really, this is your film.
Yeah.
Like, really, go out and watch it. You'll thank us later.
Absolutely. So, what have we got coming soon? Do you want to know?
Yeah, I'd love to know, actually.
So, we have I'm Still Here, The Monkey, The Last Showgirl for you lot, not for us. But I fully intend on rewatching it, so absolutely for us. And a weird one, because we only just saw a trailer for this at Odeon the other day and didn't know it existed before that, is One of Them Days with Keke Palmer and SZA.
Yes. Is that getting good reviews?
I mean, it hasn't been released yet. Oh, no, yeah, it has been released somewhere. It's got a 6.9 on IMDb.
Oh, okay.
But yes, that's what we've got to look forward to. However, our next episode is going to be a very, very special episode. Specifically, a very special Oscars episode.
Yes.
So, come to that for discussions on the likes of The Substance, A Complete Unknown, The Brutalist, Seed of the Sacred Fig, September 5, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez. All the films nominated for this Oscars season, we have at least one thing to say about all of them. Yes. Big or small.
Yeah. We've tried our best to watch as many as possible, and I think we'll have watched all 10 Best Picture nominees.
We will have,
obviously.
yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, we've, as always, got a lot to say about these films.
We do have a lot to say.
Yeah, because we've... this episode and last episode, you might have noticed we've missed out a few films.
Yes.
Because we will go in depth for our Oscars race discussion.
Well, it'll be the Oscar winners episode.
Oh, okay.
So we can tell you what we thought should have won and whether we agree.
Yes, because we have superior taste.
Of course.
Actually, I actually do think we do. To the Academy.
Apparently this year, yeah.
Yeah.
You can find us on all social media by searching the name of the podcast. And if you could go give us a rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening to this, we would be forever grateful. And we will be back at the same time in the same place in 2 weeks' time.
See ya.